I've been seeing a lot of posts on Facebook about this topic, and also people contacting me directly because you're getting ready to move to Spain. You don't know how the school system works. So we've been here for 4 years, and our kids have been in private school. They've been kind of under the radar, home educated. They've been in public school, and they've been in two concertados, one that was religious and one that was not religious, one that charged a fee and one that did not. So I'm going to go through, as I said on my YouTube post, um, what they came into Spain with, what their background was for my oldest, not my youngest. He's too young. And the things that the way the first year went for us in Spanish school, and the resources that I used before, during, and after, and then how things are going now. And I'm also going to show you how to utilize the Aragon Education website for signing up for school. Okay, so to start with, when we moved to Spain, my oldest child was 7. And before I fully start, let me tell you that you can comment a question or whatever if you want. And okay, so and let me know, like, if you're watching, where you're coming from or whatever. Okay, so um, since that, after that, let's move on. Okay. Okay, so in Mexico, we lived in Mexico for 2.5 years. So my oldest son started his education as in a 5-year-old in kindergarten as a homeschooler in Mexico, basically during the pandemic. So this is the book that we used in Mexico. Now I'm going to show you the book. I'm going to tell you this is in Mexican, Latin American Spanish. It's not in Castellano, but I think that it's really good as an introduction. And if you're in the United States, it's something that you might be able to get access to. Whereas it might be harder for you to get actual Spanish resources that are in Castellano here. But this was is a very basic book, but it's an actual curriculum book that's used there in some schools. And I'm going to show you the website, but you can see this. Here's like an example of fill in the blank work that he did. So I've never done this before, but supposedly if I click this button and do this, you're going to... Okay, so now I need to stop sharing screen. Okay. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to tell you is this book. So this is what he came in with. He came in with some Spanish background, hearing Spanish at home. He did understand some Spanish. He was a previously homeschooled student when he got to Spain at 7 years old. And he was in the 2nd grade. Okay. Now, he started school at a Montessori school, and I've gone through this all on my blog, but just in case. He started school at a Montessori school, and then he only went there for a few months. So fast forward until the 4th grade, where he actually started full time in a Spanish concertado. Now, what was that like? It was incredibly intense. I had to, for the first basically full school year that he was there, I had to learn everything that he was learning and the way that he was learning it, translate it into English, teach it to him again when he got home, and then translate it, go through the Spanish vocabulary with him to help him learn how to read the questions and learn the content in Spanish. So I was reteaching it to him. I was like his tutor, okay? And because I home educated him, I knew exactly how he learned. If you don't have the same background as me, you might need a tutor. I know there's a lot of fear when it comes to starting school here. And that's because, you will hear that a lot of foreigners have to repeat the first year. Yeah, it's a realistic expectation. I knew that, and I was basically doing everything I could to prevent that from happening. Spain already has a high repeat rate, higher than I'm comfortable with. You can Google that information. I don't want to throw out the statistics here, but I didn't want my son to be part of that statistic amongst Spanish students, and I didn't want him to be part of that statistic amongst the foreign students. I didn't want him to have to repeat any grades, okay? So we worked really hard while he was in school the first year with me learning all the material and reteaching it to him in English, and then teaching him the Spanish vocabulary that had to do. So this is for the way that they did math, the terminology that's used in directions that they give you, the science vocabulary. social science, natural science. I mean, everything at this school that he went to was in English, except for PE, arts and crafts. What do they call it? Plastica, and English class. Okay, so every other subject he had was in Spanish, and I relearned everything for him. Learned everything in advance at this particular school. All the books were on the computer, so I could access the digital book, and I could see what his curriculum, what his homework, and what his different things were going to be. And I literally spent, it was like my full-time job was making sure that he understood the material at this school, and it was hard. He did have a lot of homework at this school. It was intense, I'm not going to lie. It's a heck of a lot easier now than it was then. That first year was hard. And I really depended on the translator. And, I'm not fluent in Spanish now, and I was way less fluent then. Okay, so I used the translator. I Googled things. I looked up lessons online. I taught myself everything and then retaught it to him. Okay, so then over the summer, I started using these Puente books, and they only cost about €3 on Amazon Spain. I started him with level 1 because he had no background in the Spanish education system. So this is what we did over the summer, starting with 1, 2, and 3. And then he also did 4. And I currently have number 5 that I'm going to give him to do over this summer, just to make sure that he's continually doing things, because he doesn't have, a 5-year background in the education system here. He's learning things over the last 2 years. He's had to catch up. And that's what happens when you get here in your education system. Your education does not start in kindergarten in Spain. Okay, you've started somewhere else, and now the subject of lengua is the most difficult subject here for all the kids, especially the foreigners. Okay, so another thing is that math. Some of the schools here do math with a different form. The Spanish way of doing math is where they build, like, for example, in division, they build a little house for division problems differently, and they work the problems out differently. So that I just had to learn and teach it to him as it came up. But a lot of kids struggle, or think that they will struggle, or their parents think that they will struggle in certain subjects because they think that the Spanish education is ahead of the United States education. I don't know if it is or not, okay? I've read newspaper articles online from the US and Spain where both of them are talking about how low the levels are right now. Like Spain is reporting the academic level has dropped on the standardized tests that they do, and then the US does the same thing. I don't know. My kids were not in the US school system. They were home educated. So when my son started school here, he was not behind academically. He did not struggle academically at the school. The only thing he struggled with was the language. So once he got the language, now he does very well. Okay, he's right on par. But I have never stopped trying to keep him up to date and even ahead. I utilize the summers to keep him ahead academically, but not necessarily with the Spanish language, and that helps him so that when he gets to school, he already knows the material a little bit, but he just has to learn the way that it's said in Spanish. Okay, so over the summer last year, aside from these books that I used, and we just went 1, 2, 3, 4. When one was done, we started the next one. I also gave him a test on grade 4 because he had just finished 4th grade. And I pulled out my math curriculum that I had used in homeschooling, which is called Math Mammoth. Sorry, I see that my computer's moving, and that's because I'm on a table. And apparently it's an IKEA table, so it's not that stable. This is the company, okay, Math Mammoth. This is his work from 2nd grade. You see? Well, I went on there and I printed out the 4th grade evaluation test, and I gave it to him over the summer. In any areas that he had that were weak, I went and made sure that he knew how to do them over the summer. This is what we did in the summer of 2024. And then when he finished that, I started working with him on grade 5 math. He has never struggled in math with anything in Spanish schools, with anything that I couldn't teach him. If there was a lesson or a concept that he's had a struggle with, then I go onto the Math Mammoth website. I pay like $2 or $3 for their lesson on that topic, and I would spend time teaching it to him at home in English because it's math. There's a way to do math. You don't have to understand the Spanish, but it's harder to learn in school if you don't know the Spanish because your teacher is teaching you in Spanish, and then you have to understand the language and the method. So I would work on the method at home and then look at his test and the directions that they use in the homework and try to teach him how to do that. So now it's just when he has a problem, we address it. But then everything was a problem with the language, with getting the information in Spanish for all the subjects. So as I said, I translated everything, and then over the summer we worked on language, which was lengua, and we made sure that he was caught up in math. And everything else I wasn't too worried about. He would catch up on his own in school or whatever. But like I said, he was never actually behind. He never struggled in any subject except for lengua. And now, happy to say he's scoring like BNs in lengua, which is pretty high. They have sobresaliente, it's the highest you can get. And then they have notable, and then they have BN. So he's getting a BN, which I think is around a 6. Yes, I believe. If you don't know what the grading system is here in Spain, it's not A, B, C, D, F. It's not 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50. It goes from 0 to 10. So a 1, 2, 3, and 4 is considered insufficient, insuficiente. And then you have the 5, which is considered suficiente, or an S for sufficient. And then you get 6, which is bien. And then you get 7 and 8, which are notable. So like a low notable and a high notable would be the 7 and the 8. And then 9, what is 9? And then 10 is sobreselling, and then I can't remember what 9 is. But I believe 7 and 8 are notable, but maybe 9 is also notable. Anyway, I don't know, okay? But it's 10 through down to 1, okay? The next thing I'm going to discuss is lengua being the hard class, Spanish that I retaught him everything. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a little bit of how it works here. Okay, so I get this question a lot, and I see it on Facebook, and I get it sent to me a lot. Moving to wherever you're going to live in Spain, it doesn't matter, okay? Where do I live? What school? What's the good school? What's the best school? How do I do this? Do I live in the district? How can I be close to the school? How do I know what school my kid's going to go to? Unfortunately, you don't know what school your kid's going to go to. There's no guarantee that they'll be able to go to school in your area. Different regions have different criterias for how they treat people when they come in, how easy it is for you to go to the school nearest you. Some people will write to me and argue that they can get into the school nearest them. It's public school. It's your right. You're 100% going to get to go to that school that's closest to you. In my experience, that doesn't happen. I have a friend who was here. She came in the late enrollment period, and she did the form and everything that she was supposed to do. At the end of the form, they ask you if you don't get any of the schools that of your choice, which I'll explain in a minute. At the end, the point is that there was a question: what type of school do you want to be at? And she selected to go to a public school, and she got put in a private, or not a private, but in a religious concertado that was 45 minutes via public transportation from her house, even though there were 3 public schools near her. She did not get a place in those schools. So I know that on paper, it might say you're going to get put you have the right to go to the public school that's closest to you, and that they 100% will give you a spot there, but that's not what is actually happening on the ground in people's lives. So I'm going to now show you the Aragon website. This is going to give you an idea of what happens in any area of Spain. I can't go too far into it because some things require a digital certificate to view, and I'm not going to use my digital certificate on this video, but you will eventually have a digital certificate. And when you do, so here we go. This is going to make sure there's no chats. Yeah, okay, so back to it. Okay, if you have a question, ask me, but I don't have my volume on, so I'm just gonna have to keep looking. Okay, so we're in Zaragoza now. Here you see Zaragoza. Now this is the vacancies list, and to keep it easy for me to find, I'm going to show you. These are the spots that are here. So you can see just for first grade, there are some schools that don't have any spots anywhere. You know, look at this school. And this is a TEA school. Is MO, it tells you right here the codes. MOT, yeah, is for children who have a physical, is that what that means? I'm not 100% sure on that one, but AUD is for if you are non-hearing or you have a hearing problem enough that you need special attention. They have that. Then you have the TEA here. And so these are your codes. And this right here is the neurodiversity thing that a lot of people ask about. Okay, so you can see that you basically have to go through here and see what schools have spots, and then you put that on your list. Now, how do you figure out where the good schools are? Yeah, I'm sorry to say, but there's no real way to figure it out when you get here. You can look at Google reviews, you can go tour the school, you can look at their website, but it's super difficult. I made a whole spreadsheet and I had like, you know, what their extracurriculars were, what my kids wanted, what we wanted. We will only take our kids right now to short class day schools, so I had that prioritized. And I mean, I did intensive research and study, and I still made the wrong choice. And my kids ended up in a school that I ended up not liking and was not a good fit. So what I will tell you is if you end up putting your kids in a school and you don't like it, just the complication is taking them out, because in Spain, let me switch. In Spain, you cannot homeschool. You definitely cannot homeschool on a visa where someone's in. And if you put them in the system, you can't easily take them out unless you take them out to put them in a private school. You cannot just switch schools. So the absolute easiest, safest thing to do is to put your kid in a private school when they're new and you're here. The problem is that that's expensive, and if it's not a Spanish school, they're not going to learn the language as well as quickly as they need to, and you're not going to get the culture, learning the culture in schools. I mean, it happens a lot. They get a lot of culture at school. You miss out on things, but the safest, most secure option is some sort of private school. But even that's not guaranteed, because there's bullying and there's everything else. So it's really hard with the school thing. But basically, you make a choice, and if it's the wrong choice, then you can take them out by taking them out and enrolling them in a private school. There are some situations where you can go into the education center, the main education center. I can't remember what it's called. And I actually have it right here, the Servicio Provincial de Educación, and tell them your problem, and they can try to change your school. You can apply to change your school, but it takes like 6 to 8 weeks. I know someone who did this, and it took them 6 weeks to get a change. Okay. And then I know someone else who did it, and I don't even know if they still yet have had a change. So there's no guarantee that you're going to get a change, but this is where you go. Servicio Provincial de Educación, Ciencia y Universidades. It's easy to look up just the education, whatever. It's on Juan Pablo. That's a minor detail, but the important part is to know there's a process to get out, but it's not easy. It's not fast. It's not immediate. And I don't really want to get too much into the culture of education here, but it's a lot different than it is in the US, in my opinion, as far as how kids are treated in schools and things like that. Okay, so in this case, you would write on your little form. So let's go over to, I'm going to close this. I wonder if you guys could even see that. All that stuff I just did, were you even able to see it? Share this tab instead. Oh my gosh, here it is. Wow. You couldn't even see what I was just doing. So I'm going to show you again. This is the vacancies page. I'm going to quickly go over this again because I realize now that you couldn't see that. So these are the schools in Zaragoza. And you go down to Zaragoza because these are the little barrios that are in Zaragoza. And you look and see what schools have spots in them. So this is a school right now that have spots for first grade. If you have a fifth grader, then you're going to go over here. Okay. Right now, when you're moving here, if you have a kid who has autism or something and they have a diagnosis, they're not going to be able to get into these special spaces until you get into the school system and you get your diagnosis in the school system. But you're going to have to just go into a regular spot. And then you do the process once you get there. Okay, so and then there's points, and so anyways, I've already said all of this and I don't want to repeat everything, but you can see this is the form that I was looking at when I was talking and not sharing my tab correctly. These are the spots. So you want to make sure on your form that you fill out when you register for school that you're registering in a spot in a school that has spaces. You know, there's a small chance that they'll make a space for people if they don't have enough room in all the schools for you, but there's a good chance, a better chance that they won't. So you want to put the schools on your list that have actual spaces in them so that you can get a spot. Now that I totally just, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to come off of this tab and try to show you a different one. Okay, I wanted to show you I wonder if you can even see this. Am I back to the same thing that I was before where you can't see what I'm doing? This is difficult. Share this tab instead. Oh my gosh, here I am. Okay. Okay. I have my husband watching me, but I guess he's not paying attention to the fact that I keep messing things up. So clicking all of that again. And now we have the map again. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to show you, that there's a map here and you can scroll into it with your keyboard functions, Alt plus scroll, but I don't want to do, I'm trying to use a mouse. Woo! Okay, so there. I just clicked on something, but anyhow, like here's Val de Fierro. Lots of people talk about that area because they see, nice, more modern homes. This is Delicious right here. And then this is a Delicious, the Portillo train station, which is not in Delicious, but it is in Delicious, kind of. El Gancho, and then you have the center here. And so all through here, you can see that they're going to tell you the different schools. Like here's a school, okay? There's a school, and then you go look at it if you want. Okay, let me close this. Hi. Now I'm going to try to find, where was this that I saw something that I wanted to show you because it was about the points. And first we got random. Public, right here you can get like a little update, public, special education, SO. Where is this thing at? Let's see. Well, maybe I can, there's basically points that you get, and I had it up and I can't find it now. Let's see. Okay, you're reserving a spot in the center that corresponds to the person who's going to be educated. Okay, who can participate. Students of infantile schools, alumni who go up to the 6th grade, public concertados, ESO, which is middle school, high school, public concertados. Es necesario, yes, is it necessary to make an application? Yes, your kids have to have a unique application, except baccalaureate. Okay, so how do you do it? They tell you to go to this website, which is what we just did. And then you submit your information and you make sure that that everything is correct. And then you can do it. Why does it say February 18th to the 25th of February? Did this happen in February and I'm just now knowing about it? I don't know. But anyhow, or maybe that's when the information is available. I don't know. So they send you fill it out, right? They send you the stuff. And then you have to do these points. This is the hardest part, is the points, and that's the paper I wanted to show you. The more points you get, the more likely you are to get your number one spot. The less points you get, the less likely you are to get your number one spot. This says that if you're not admitted to your first spot, then you can find out about your second spot. And then registration happens in June. That's when you actually do the registration. You also do that online. Okay. I really wish I could find that thing that I had. I don't know where it's at. I'm going to try to click through my history here, and maybe I end up finding it, but maybe not. Nope. I accidentally found it on the thing. Well, I can't find it. So where's my YouTube at? Here it is. Okay, so stop sharing. Okay. So when I find it, because I will find it, I will put it in the first comment on this video. But basically, there's a form that they have online, and you look on it and it tells you how many points you get for each thing. So you get points for if your income is lower, you get more points. So if you're coming here on a digital nomad visa or an NLV, you are not going to qualify for those points. If you have a familia numerosa or numeroso, which is where you have 3 kids or more, then you get some points, but you have to be registered with that, okay? And that's not something you're going to get done like when you first get here. So probably at first you're not going to have points. And then you're going to have your location. If you're within 1 kilometer of the schools, those schools you'll get more points for. And this is in Aragon. The other regions have a different criteria for location. And then if you're 4 kilometers radius in Aragon, you get 1 less point. If the school is near your place of business or your home within that 1 kilometer and 4 kilometer radius, you get points accordingly. And they add up as you go. If you have a diagnosis, a disability, a child, a sibling at the school, all of this stuff is worth more points. And in the end, the average person, I think you get like 14 points would be like the minimum amount. And then so you might want a spot in a school and somebody else wants a spot in the school, and you all have the same exact criteria to get that spot at the school, but they have more points than you. So guess who's going to get the spot in the school? They are. So that's why I say you can't focus on, I like this school, so I'm going to move into that neighborhood. It doesn't work like that here. And there's no guarantee that you're going to get a spot in the schools that you like. You could fill out your form online, or actually go in person and fill it out on paper. And you could list your 6 or 7 top schools that you want. Maybe it's just schools that your neighbors told you to put on the list. Maybe you have never even visited the schools. You have no idea about them. Maybe you just write the top 7 schools that are closest to your house, okay? And none of them have spots in them, you're not going to get them. The very last question they ask you in Aragon is, if none of these schools are available, what do you prefer? Do you prefer a public school or a concertado? Do you prefer a religious school or a non-religious school? And you can mark, I don't care, I don't have a preference, or I want a public school and no religion. So then if they end up putting you in a concertado, they'll try to put you in a concertado that doesn't have religion. But you might not get it. Like I said, I have a friend who did that, and she got put into a religious concertado that was far from her. And then I have another friend who got put into the same exact school. I guess this is a school that has availability outside of the regular admission process, because they both got put into this school. She ended up not liking the school for other reasons, and she went and did the manual process like my first friend did and filled out the paperwork to get her child moved. And she's the one that I don't know if she actually got moved or not. But her reason for wanting the kid moved is just like, I don't like this school. But the first person's reason for getting it moved is, I asked for a public non-religious school close to my house, and you put me in a school 45 minutes away. But still, that took 6 weeks to process, and she had to go in and ask about it. So it's not easy. This is the hardest part of moving here. In my opinion, if you are moving on a visa to Spain and you're retired and you never have to deal with the education part of it, number 1, you're not getting exposed to as much culture. And number 2, you're not having to deal with as much stress. It's much easier to just kind of move here and, not have to worry about the education system, but it's impossible to do because your kids have to be in school in order to get the visa. To renew your visa, and in some cases, in order to get some of the visas, your kids have to be in school. So to recap, the easiest thing is private school, right? That's the easiest, most simplest thing, but it's expensive. So then you need to focus on, when it comes to where you're going to live, not necessarily the school that you like, because in a city like Zaragoza, almost everything is accessible. You know, even this situation where my friend was 45 minutes away from her school, she could still take her car and get there sooner. Now, you're probably not gonna have a car, and then you might have to deal with the 45-minute thing, but if you live in the center, more in the center, then, like, I live a 15-minute walk from that school that she got put into, but she lives not in the center. She doesn't live in the center, so that's why it was further out. So if you move to Zaragoza, live in the center of the city, then any school that you might get put into, you're going to probably be able to access it in 30 minutes or less. That's either on foot, by bike, or bus or tram, okay? And it might not be the ideal school, it might not be the ideal location, but you want to think about where you're going to live, not where you're going to go to school, because you have no idea where you're going to go to school. It's not like it is in the United States. There's absolutely no guarantee that you will get any type of school that you want or like, and you cannot change it. You cannot take your kid out unless you're taking them out and putting them in private school. You're moving, or you file a complaint and then there's and request to move, which is very difficult. You just wait until the next year. You visit schools, you talk to people, you find out where the better school is, and then you apply again the following year. You know, we've been here for 4 years and my kids have gone to a lot of different schools, and that's because we haven't found anything that we like until now. It's taken us a long time to get to where we are now. And now my kids are going to a private Spanish primaria school, which is not my preference. I wanted originally them to be in a school that had ESO so they didn't have to change schools. But no matter how many times I tried to accomplish that, what I didn't accomplish was them not changing schools. You know, I wanted them to be in primaria and stay for ESO and not have to change the school, but instead they still have changed schools multiple times. So, and it hasn't all been in Zaragoza. It's been every time that we've moved, they've had to change schools, and they've changed schools for different reasons. And sometimes it's out of your control. It was out of our control. In some cases, it was because we were moving. In other cases, it was to protect them. You know, and when your kids are in a bad situation, you take them out. And yes, your kids can be here and they can be in a bad situation. Spain is not perfect. We have to protect our kids, take them out of the school when it's not working. And here, there is a big culture of not changing schools, not taking them out and moving them around. People here want to put their kid in infantil and keep them there until they're done in the same school. And even if, but like, you're not going to do that as a foreigner. If something doesn't work, you have to change it. It's already difficult enough for your kids with the changes. And then, you know, if they get in a situation where the teacher's not nice, the teacher's more than not nice, mean, abusive, sorry, but this is the case. Or maybe there's too much religion in the school, or, you know, maybe they're not accommodating them with the things that they're supposed to have. Because actually, something I haven't talked about yet is that the NEAE thing that I showed you, which was, let me find it, um, and then I will share my screen. Share screen. Oh my gosh, I have so many tabs open. Let me close everything so I know which is which. Close everything I don't need so I don't share the wrong tab. Okay, here. This NEAE, okay? That acronym, you can look it up, NEAE Spain, and you'll probably be able to learn about what it stands for and what it means. But one of the ways that you can get this fit into this criteria is by being late into the Spanish school system, by being behind in the language. So those are two things that every foreigner who's not from a Spanish-speaking country is. They are late into the Spanish school system and they don't know the language. With that, you can get a request from the psychologist at the school who can get you this label, who can get extra assistance for your child, like translating the directions on work, giving them extra Spanish lesson classes at school. In Madrid, they have something called Aula de Enlace. They don't have Aula de Enlace here, as far as I know, but the schools do still have classes where they'll put the kids in. It's just not called Aula de Enlace like it is in Madrid. But you get this label based on late enrollment into the school system, which all foreigners coming to Spain are. And then if you're not from a Spanish-speaking country and your kid doesn't know Spanish, that's two criteria that get you into that label. That's the same category as kids with autism, kids with ADHD, kids with other disadvantages, neurodiversity. Your child might not have neurodiversity, might not have autism or ADHD, but they get that same preference. okay, where they get that same extra help. And that gives them a little assistance. Now, a school can choose to do this for your child without the paperwork. And if you find a school that will give your child those helps without the paperwork, I say that that's probably a pretty good school. The school we were at would not help our kid without this paperwork. So that's just one of the things I didn't like about them. But anyhow, if it doesn't work, you got to take them out. Okay. So I've told you that, I basically translated everything in the first year. So you might need a tutor. I did not want them to be held back. This is something that's a little scary. The other thing that a lot of people don't know here is that in Spain, kids get put into school by their birth year. So if your child was born in 2014 and in the United States they're in fourth grade, or they're in sixth grade, or maybe they've been advanced grade levels, here they're going to say, too bad, so sad. Your kid was born in 2014, they're in the fifth grade. If they do not like to take kids out of their designated grade level here, if you want that done, again, you have to go through the school system with this long drawn out process. They don't like it. There is a culture here of, this is how we do it. And if you don't check off your little check marks to get anything else done, which is sometimes very bureaucratic and difficult, you're not going to get it done. And then if you come here and not know the language, it's going to be that much more difficult. So the standard way is you just come and your kid goes into their grade level based on their birth year, and that's January through December. So a December 2014 child with a January 2014 child, which is 1 year apart. So fortunately, my son, my oldest, is on the higher end of the age, and then my youngest is kind of like in the middle, but on in April birthday, so it's still in the first part of the year. But if your kid is at the end of the year and they have the struggle with the language and not ready academically, I say start working on the Spanish now. Make sure that they're solid in math. Do some supplemental work even in the summer before you get here with the language. Do it from home where you're at now. Do it when you get here. Be ready to put in the extra work. And some schools, let me see if I can think of a school. I'll show you a school website. I'm not prepared for this part, but some schools you can see the book list. So what's the name of a school? Like, right? Oh my gosh. There was a school that I showed you. Let me see right here. I don't know if they're going to have it, but I'm going to look and see if I can find the book list so I can show you how I research schools. Not all schools have the stuff. So I'm going to show you this school and you can see what I mean. And you go to another school and you look, okay? But basically, this is a school that I showed you on my tour. That's why I chose it. Now I put this into English. Can you see what I'm doing? Yes? Okay. I put this into English. Here you see the school calendar. Here they're telling you about how to enroll. Every school will pretty much have some information about how to enroll. See, it says on May 16th is when you're going to find out whether or not you get into this school or not, or if you have to wait for another, that's the first choice people who are going to find out on May 16th. Okay, so then sometimes you can go on here and find out the book list. I don't see that here, but you can find the book list. And with the book list, I'm often able to see what the subjects are that are offered at the school, when otherwise I wouldn't be able to get that information. So this school, you see the hours from October to May are from 9 to 2, and in September and June from 9 to 1. And then over here, you see their extracurricular activities. This is how you find out about schools here. You have to dig through their websites, read their reviews, but there's like no other, there's no website here or true rating system that is accessible to people. Here's a lunch room. This is typical. This is what they have here, these trays and people serving the food. And let's see. This is the early program for coming in at 7:30 to 9 before school starts. Sometimes in here I can find the school has a bilingual project. And just click, click, click. You can visit the school online, and some of the schools also have this option where you can view this school online. This is what you can do from. Soy el director y tengo el honor y placer. Okay. You go all around the school and walk in the doors and stuff and see stuff. Whoa. So you can do that yourself. How do we get out of this now? Yikes. Well, hit the back button. Okay. This is the Parent-Teacher Association here, sometimes called AMPA, but it looks like here it's called AFE. Maybe that's what this is, or is this something else? Center projects, faculty, operation, organization of the center. I mean, you can look at this stuff, but honestly, like it gives you limited information. Really, this doesn't tell you what the respect level is between teachers and students. They have another thing that I like is to look at their social media. But like I said, I did extensive research on the last school and it was awful. Okay, so textbooks and school supplies. This is what I was looking for. So here you can see first grade. These are their materials that they're going to need right here. Now we're going to click this button and find out about their books. This tells you about the cost, the basic supplies for the first. This is a pack of wipes, a transparent water bottle, a white t-shirt, adult sized. Don't know why. For activities. Oh, so they can wear it in arts and crafts. A small book bag without wheels. So a lot of these kids here, when they're older, they use book bags with wheels. That's why it says that. And then a box of tissues and then a bag with your name and like extra clothes in it. That's what that says. Okay. And then you have to pay 45 euros for some other things, pencils and paints that they use. And my battery's dying. I guess I should finish. See if someone can bring me a charger. There's probably going to be chaos when they come in here. He'll probably send one of my kids. Okay, now there's no books listed there. So I'm going to go quickly through here and see if I can find books so I can show you how I do this. Okay, so here's first grade and here's the book. So on Amazon, either Amazon.es, which is Amazon Spain, or the US, you can look up these books. You can see how much they would cost and just the subjects. Like in first grade, they have math, social science, and some handwriting. And then you also still have to pay. Now, they do have something called a book bank here where you can pay an add-on 25 euros and get access to the books. And you are going to be borrowing them. So that means you have to return them. And there's like some rules about not writing and not damaging them. And that kind of scared me. So I actually bought the books at the last school, and they were around 200 and something euros. But my kid was the only kid in the class who had his books bought. So that, that causes a whole thing, right? So here we go again. Like this is the ISBN. What I do is I look this up, and this tells you that in second grade, they have math. This is social science. And then scroll on. This is folders. Now learning to read a school supplies list is its own challenge. So this is a folder. A carpeta is a folder, a plastic folder with gomas, which is a plastic folder with rubber bands. And I don't have one, but you basically have a folder and it has little rubber bands that you wrap around the folder to keep it closed. A sacapuntas is a pencil sharpener, and an estuche is a bag that they put their pencils in. It's a very Spanish culture thing here, okay? A barra de pigmento. I believe that's glue, a glue stick. This is a test of my Spanish here. Is anyone chatting with me to tell me what this means? Tell me if I'm wrong. This is markers. Rotula. This might be color pencils. These are pencils, writing pencils. They want you to have this certain brand of erasers. A ruler of 20 to 25 centimeters. Scissors with a round point. A4 papers that go into a folder, 90 gram. This might be like a notebook. So many things. And, sometimes I don't know what things are. In the first year, I definitely did not know what things were. And even though my husband speaks Spanish, I'm going to click back over, he speaks Latin American Spanish. So some of this stuff he didn't know. He didn't know what it meant. And I would Google it, and sometimes like 5 different pictures of different things would come up, and I would have no idea. So let's see, 3rd grade, lengua, math, social science. Again, that's just 3 subjects, language, math. Here we go. Lengua, math, natural science, social science, English. And there's almost no way you're getting out of taking English. It doesn't matter if your kid knows English or not. They don't care. It's required that they go to English class, and they got to go to English class. So here's 5th grade, lengua, math, social science, natural science, English. And this school, there you go, German. They have German in the 5th grade. So in my last live, I talked about one of the reasons we moved from Madrid to Zaragoza. And that's because in Zaragoza, a lot of the 3rd language starts in the 5th grade. And in Madrid, they don't start until ESO, standard. It's hard to find a school that starts a foreign language besides English before ESO. So Aragon does start foreign languages in almost all the schools that I could find in the 5th grade or sooner. So this school has German. Okay, complementary material. Let's see. So that's basically telling you these are the subjects that this school has. They might not have a separate website that tells you all the subjects they have, but you have to find the printout of the book list. And you can find that many of the school websites have that. They also have their policy for homework written online. The problem is it's going to be many. Hi. There's going to be many. The PDF is very long. And so I had my husband look through that, but you can look through it for 2 keywords. There's 2 words that mean homework here, tareas and deberes. So you can print the PDF, get the PDF on your computer and do like a word search on it for deberes or tareas and do a translation. And that will tell you what their homework policy is. Some of them will say something like up to 1st and 2nd, 3rd grade, 15 minutes per subject, or 30 minutes per subject at this grade level. They'll give you some kind of guideline that they use for their homework, and that'll help you to figure out, is this school going to give my kid a lot of homework or not? Because that's another stereotype in Spanish schools, is that they give a lot of homework. Now, my child did have a lot of homework in the first Spanish concertado that he went to, but he also did not know the language well, and so it was hard to get the work done in school. That school only gave homework when you didn't finish it at school, but he had a hard time finishing at school because of the language. So the first year, probably you're going to have a lot of homework, but since then, now he keeps up with things. He, at his second concertado, he would sometimes have 15 or 20 minutes of homework, but he could do it on his own. And now at this school he's able to get his work done at school. And so a lot of the schools, I think nowadays, have, in primaria at least, have the homework that it's the whole, if you don't finish it at school, then you have to do it at home. But some kids don't get their work done at school, and so they have to do it at home. And especially in your first year of not knowing the language, you might have more homework than you'll have maybe in your 2nd or 3rd year. And I still hear that ESO, which is middle school and high school, that they get a lot of homework. And I do not have experience with that grade level, so I can't talk about it. I can only tell you what I hear in the rumor mill. So I think that I've given you a lot of information, and I've been here for 1 hour and 3 minutes and 19 seconds. So if you could, I'm going to tell you, like the video, comment, share, subscribe. And if you don't know, in the description, I have this little link where you can buy me a coffee. So if you think that this has been valuable to you and you want to give me a little financial contribution, you can do that with Buy Me a Coffee. And otherwise, there's really no other way to support right now. But eventually, I need more watch hours still. So that's my little ad for myself. I need watch hours. Okay, to be able to monetize this, and then I won't have to be like, buy me a coffee. I'll just say, watch the ad or have a membership, right? Okay, so if you have a specific question that I haven't already covered, and I'm really sorry about the whole screen sharing thing, that was weird. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to edit that out because I said so much, but maybe you match up the stuff. But I still got around to showing you the how to see the vacancies, how to register. I still have to find that PDF that I'm going to put in the comments when I do find it, because that's going to describe to you each criterion what the points are, but I did describe that too already. You need to get a digital certificate when you get here. You can use your passport as your ID for that. You should expect the first year to be difficult. It will be. Your kid will be placed in school by their birth year, not by whatever grade they were in before. And another thing, I've never had to show previous schools documentation. So at least in primaria, I don't think that you need to worry about getting your academic records and keeping them and having them. And I've never had to show it. It's just like you have a right to education here, and bam, you go. They put you in the school, they put you in the grade level with your year, and that's it. And then the other thing is vaccine records. I've never shown them. I'll leave it at that. Vaccine records never had to show. They are on the list to show sometimes at some schools, but it's not something that they bother you with. Never had to like have my vaccine records, doctor's records, past academic school records. Even though I homeschooled, that's never been a problem. I never had to come up and show a record of academic work. Never had to show any of that stuff. Like literally, you just can show up with your paperwork done, get into the grade level, and that's it. Yeah, I guess that's going to be all. I'm going to, oh yeah. Because this is a live, I cannot add the subtitles until like tomorrow. It takes hours for YouTube to process this video. And when it does finally process the video, I can go and add English subtitles. And then that takes hours to process. And then I can add the Spanish subtitles. I meant to say that at first, in the very first part, because I have some people questioning me about why the subtitles are not on. But I do put my Spanish subtitles and English subtitles on my videos as soon as I can. It's just that it takes a little while before I can get them on a normal video, and on the lives it takes even longer. So sorry about that, but I'm doing as fast as I can. And so I hope that this has helped you, and I hope that you will share the video, like, subscribe, buy me a coffee. Right now, I only have water. So I will see you guys later.